Hello, friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited because today we're going to do a Q&A. I had posted to my Instagram stories that I was going to do an old school Q&A episode because I feel like it's been a hot minute since we have caught up. So we'll have some life updates, answer some random questions. I love these. I miss these. And we're going to be adding more of these in. So there's a lot changing per usual, but it's going to be just a chill, laid back episode. So thank you to everybody who sent in questions. I'll try and get through as many of them as I can. We had some repeats, so I'll kind of collapse those together and we'll just kind of jump into it. I don't know, this might go all over the place. So apologize for that. I want to start with one of the most common questions, which is pretty much just a moving update. We've got lots of life updates around here. So yes, I am moving and I am moving back to San Diego. The story around this is interesting. I knew I wanted to move back a while ago, really, because, one of the reasons why I came out here originally was, I needed space. I'm so glad I moved out to Arizona. I absolutely love it here, honestly, and it has been so good for me. And I could see myself moving back eventually, or I would love to have another house here, a second home here. But when I first moved out here, I was at the place with my business where I was ready. I needed to take a break from in-person clients for a second and focus on some other things. And I had been traveling a ton that year. And because of that, everything had really transitioned. So I didn't need to be there in person. And as the business has kind of unfolded throughout this last year, I'm getting pulled back in person a lot back to San Diego. So I have been going back to San Diego pretty much almost every single month, back and forth. And it was, months and months ago when I had realized I need to move back soon. And I had expressed that to my then partner as well. Just, hey, I'm going back so often that I'm going to need to move back, because I was just getting really tired of all of the back and forth and bringing everything and just the kind of I don't know. I'm somebody that I need a second to kind of recalibrate, and it's just constantly new spaces. And when I would go to San Diego, the days would just be so packed, and it would be so much fun, but it would be so packed. And then I'd get back and I'd kind of recalibrate, and it just ended up where my life has felt a lot like I'm just kind of living in response, and I haven't had any solid time to get any real deep work done. And there's all of this stuff that I really want to create, that I'm really excited about. But the way my lifestyle has been with all of this travel and all of this back and forth, I haven't had space to do any deep work, and it's just not going to work for me. And I really need to feel grounded. And this has been coming up. I've had friends just reaching out to me. I've been I've been pretty MIA because I'm just really trying to manage what's right in front of me. And a lot of my friends have been how can I support you? And I'm saying, all I want is I just want to get grounded. And once I get grounded, I want to hole up and just be in my own vortex and create, because I feel like I have these things bursting out of me. And so that's really what I'm craving right now, is just to move back and get grounded and create. So my team is all in San Diego. We have been throwing more events in San Diego. I have really been wanting to open up, to go back to more of my in-person sessions with my previous clients. So they are all very excited. And yeah, there's just a lot I want to build. And for me to build, I need to be focused, and I need to just be grounded in one place. So yeah, it was actually when was that? I want to say Feb. I went back to San Diego, and I had been feeling like that place was just rejecting me for so long. I was telling you guys. And when I went there that trip, I felt like I was welcomed back in, and I was like, wow, I'm supposed to be here. There was just a magic that happened. And I think so much has changed with the area, and even just in my personal life. When I'm going back to San Diego, a lot of people that I like am friends with, they have rearranged, people have moved, lifestyles are different. So it's just kind of a whole new energy. And I have met so many new people since leaving that live there. So I'm kind of entering into a whole new space. So that's really cool. What's interesting about this is, I mean, I knew I wanted to move. And then I went through my most recent breakup. And on the other side of that, I just was like, I want to move back. Like, I want to move back, be around my support system, jump into a lot of these projects. And there were just a lot of things pulling me back. And then I ended up meeting someone who I'm now seeing. And that was just another factor of like, hey, there's just more and more things pulling me back here. So when I got to that place, which was really like right after the event, the Live Oracle event, I was fully like, hey, I'm ready to move now. And I just put out the feelers I texted maybe like 3 or 4 of my friends who are like well connected in San Diego, and I just said, hey, I want to move. This is what I'm looking for. If you happen to hear of anything, let me know. And pretty much immediately, one of my best friends messaged me back and told me that her friend was looking for someone to rent out her house, and I knew of this house. I had seen it before on Instagram, and I was like, this is like literally ideal of what I have wanted, like visually, you know how particular I am about aesthetic. The only problem was it wasn't the area I wanted to be in. I was like really set on the area I wanted to be in. And so I still like followed that track, and I was like, I'll look at the place. But in my head, I was like, oh, this is so frustrating because it's exactly like what I wanted. It's just the wrong area. And I was really set on wanting and being in San Diego. If you don't live there, like there's North County and there's like main San Diego. And they're like, depending on traffic, it could take you 30 minutes to get between them, or it could take you an hour. So all the podcast studio and like work stuff and a lot of the people I'm close to and like who I'm going to be around are in main San Diego right now. So I was really wanted to be down there. But what ended up happening was I went to San Diego for 2 weeks, and I was just set on finding a place. And the other thing that I will say is this place that got delivered to me, it was like exactly what I had visualized in my meditations. And there were all these synchronicities around it. It was the first place that came in, and like the address, the numbers, like it was, I don't want to be specific just because like personal data, but it was like divine. And I was so confused because I was like, but I'm not supposed to be up there. That's so far. And it's going to make my life, it's going to be very inconvenient. I want this part of my life to feel like, I don't know, easier and not commuting. And that was one of the problems with before when I lived up there. So anyway, whenever I have moved, it has felt very easy and flowy. I'm like very good at manifesting, obviously. And I was just getting I was confused why the place wasn't dropping in. And I was like, I'm just going to keep looking. And I saw so many places while I was there. Like it was just my job. I was looking for place after place, and every place I went to, like something weird would happen where, I mean, either it would just be not it, or like there'd be something majorly intensely wrong, like absolutely not, or it would like fall through. And I could tell, I'm like trying to make this happen, and nothing is popping up, and that's not normal for me. And so I had to really sit with that about like all the reasons why I thought I wanted to be in main San Diego, like in South County. And it was one of those things where I'm like, is that really what's for my highest and best, or is that just what my ego thinks I want? And just it kept not working. And I had seen so many places, and it was getting so hard. And I was just kind of like, okay, universe, where do you want me to be? And when I went to this house and I walked in, I was like, oh, like this is it. And I walked in the backyard, and I hadn't seen the backyard yet. In the backyard, I have literally seen in my meditations for like 2 years. And I was like, wow, this is the spot. So I'm still unsure how logistically that's going to feel for me to be so far from everything and how it's going to deal with like with the commuting and stuff. But for some reason I was supposed to be up there, and I mean, I do like to be away from people. I mean, it's very kind of isolated where I'm at. And it's also oddly close to my old house, which I was really wanting to avoid because I wanted a fresh new energy. But it's funny because I was talking to one of my other best girlfriends, and she had, when I first met her, she lived in a specific apartment building with her husband in San Diego, and they ended up moving to another apartment building, and then they got divorced, and she needed a new place, and she was looking all over, and she ended up, the place she found, because it's tough to get stuff in San Diego. The place she found ended up being in that original old apartment building. It was the same building that she had lived in with her now ex-husband, where I had like first met her when she lived there. And so we were just laughing about how it's funny how we keep like going back to kind of where we started. And I think that could be really healing for different ways of like creating a totally different energy around the same place. It doesn't feel like the same place. And as I've been talking to different people in my life about this, a lot of people have shared with me, and they found themselves like kind of making a full circle and ending up back in the same area, if not the same building of like where they started. So, you know, we'll see what's in store for me. And I think this is also part of calling me up in terms of like getting clear with my boundaries and also planning a bit more, because it's going to require me to plan a bit more. And so I don't know. I think I'll just see what happens. Like, my ego doesn't like the fact that I'm going to have to commute a good amount, but there's something in there for me. So anyway, that's kind of that's the gist of the story, which I wanted to share because I think, you know, with something like living and, I mean, I tend to always find my living situation like really fast, like pretty much immediately. And I will say there's more to that story in there. I was like, maybe I should just buy a house. Like, maybe that's why it's not coming through. So I started looking at buying, and I basically I went to go see 3 places with Michael, and I was kind of in my head, I'm like, if I'm supposed to buy a house, like I'm going to find it today, because that's just kind of how it goes. For me, it's like, whatever, I know wherever I'm supposed to live is going to come in fast. And so we went and we saw different places, and I just intuitively, I was like, yeah, like these were all close, but not it. And everything kept feeling like that. And the one place that felt like it was the place my ego didn't want to be at. So it's just one of those things where sometimes we can feel like we're really set on what we want, and what's good for us. But sometimes the universe has a bigger plan, and there's some reason I'm supposed to be up there. And that will reveal itself to me. But, you know, I think about this next season of my life and this kind of sanctuary space I'm in, I want to be in. And that place does really feel like a sanctuary. And you know, something that, I don't know why I'm feeling guided to say this, but I'm going to say this, is definitely like on my mind. It's nowhere like close. It's not like it's close in the 3D timeline, but I'm definitely aware of, you know, I want to have kids, like, I don't know, maybe before I'm 35. I don't really know, like whenever it happens. And I'm 29 now. And I think there's something about turning 29 that like kind of made me think, like I'm getting close to 30. And when I look at like my business and my lifestyle and anything I want to change, I am thinking in advance with that kind of stuff. Like if I know I want to be able to take time off or like be set up in a certain way, or for the business to be a certain way, what am I going to want my lifestyle to be like, you know, in 5 years or 4 years or whatever. And that turning that ship like kind of starts now in my head, you know, because there are certain things business wise that can take a couple years to transition into or out of, or things like that. So it's already been on my mind. And I feel like, I mean, my spirit babies have been just like, I mean, they're knocking on my door. I'm sure a lot of you, I mean, a lot of people feel this. People tell me all the time, like, you're fertile. You have so much baby energy around you. It's so funny. But I really feel like this next season for me, like the word that comes through very strongly is sanctuary. And I feel like I just need a space to really ground myself. And I feel like the next 2 years for me, there's so much, 2 to 3 years, there's so much deep building, like a lot of building. And I'd gone through like a strong building phase. I feel like when I was like 25, like 24, 25, 26, there was so much building. And then after that, I went through a period of like being in what I had built and a lot of personal transition. And now I'm back in a phase, I feel like for the next 2 to 3 years of like, there's just a lot I want to build and I want to feel really grounded and I want my nervous system to feel stabilized. And it's really looking at like, what's a sanctuary space that's going to support me in that. And also cutting out a lot of distractions. You know, I feel like last time I was in San Diego, it felt so distracting for me. And I'm coming in with a new energy. So that's like my moving update. I guess the other part of that is, I mean, I'm moving in July. And I'm moving in July. I still am going to have access to this house. So I'll be back a couple times as well. But that's just kind of the way that the way the timing laid out was just interesting because, you know, the timing was kind of guiding where I was going to be and how it was going to flow. But anyway, I'm moving in July. And the other interesting thing about this is this was the one house that it was the first place that got delivered to me. It was exactly what I had visualized. And it also, the only option is for it to be furnished. And that was a big, like, I was like, I don't know about that because what am I going to do with all my furniture, blah, blah, blah. And the more I sat with that, I realized I think that's what's supposed to happen because I've been getting this message for so long to get rid of as much as I can and like start fresh. And it's giving me an excuse to just kind of let go of everything I own. And I realized, you know, attachment I have to certain pieces of furniture. And there's a couple things I'm going to keep, like my big ass, very expensive multicolor wave mirror. There's no way I'm getting rid of that. And like one of my like big cloud chairs and I think one of my couches. But I have like 3 couches in this house. So, but everything else I'm going to let go of. And I think it's going to be good just like get rid of the mattresses and my big couch downstairs I have an emotional attachment to. I don't know, but it's giving me the excuse to kind of get rid of everything and have a fresh start. And I think it will be good for me moving into this house because this next house feels like kind of a transition space, a space where I can feel grounded and just transition. And there's something really nice about just like plopping yourself in a new living situation. And like when I move in, I'll be like ready to go. You know, I don't need to like unpack things. I'm just like basically moving my clothes. So I'm really excited to just like plop in there and be in a whole new fresh energy. And there's going to be a lot of releasing. And so we kind of started that after the retreat. After we got back from the retreat, Kaylin stayed and Kelly helped a little bit before she left. But we were just starting to go through and get rid of as much as we could. And we did like a pretty solid first round of getting rid of things in like the kitchen and my bedroom and things like that. I'm going to keep starting to go through and just get rid of as much as I can, donating things. And we're just working through that. We're going to sell a lot too. We're going to be selling a lot of my clothes. So I'll probably post about that on social media, but it's a very emotional, well, I don't want to say emotional process. It actually wasn't hard. It wasn't hard for me to get rid of stuff, but you feel it, like you feel the energy leaving. And I was very ready to get rid of it, but then I felt like I had this kind of like energetic hangover of like, whoa, so much is going, so much is leaving. And you know, what's funny is ever since we started doing that, I keep having weird things go wrong. Like I've lost a couple things. I've broken a couple things. I'm like forgetting stuff, like really weird things that don't happen to me ever. It's giving like unlucky energy, like that. Like I just, I open the curtain and like the diffuser drops and it breaks. So I was like, whoa, that's weird. All this stuff is like randomly breaking. And really what it is I'm done here. Like all this random shit is not working. And it's like, I'm just done. I'm done here. So I'm getting the message. Things keep kind of going wrong. So I'm excited to leave. It's definitely an interesting space to be in. It's not, this is, growth for me of sitting in this awkward limbo. I was telling my friends, it's like I just feel like I'm in a limbo because I'm moving in about a month. I need to start kind of getting rid of things. I can't fully get rid of things because I still need stuff to stay here. And I actually have someone who's going to stay in the house like after I'm gone. So just kind of in this weird limbo, and I'm still going back and forth and like traveling between now and when I move. And so I don't actually have any like solid time to get to work on things. It's all just a lot of like an hour break here and 30 minutes there. And there's just too much movement, you know? So I'm just kind of like in this weird limbo for the next month, and that will be what it is. And it's odd to be in this space of like, hey, house, I know I'm going to leave you. But I'm here now. It's very different than with my last house. You know, I wished when I sold my last house, I wish I had this time, because I was just traveling nonstop and I didn't get to have a period where I knew there was going to be just like a final month or 2 months, and I could just like soak in the space. And because I did love that house. And with this, I get that time, but I'm also like, I don't have an attachment because I don't know, it's not mine. I've only been here a year. I mean, I love this house, but anyway, so that's pretty much like, I guess, the moving update. So I don't know if you find any of that interesting, but that's where I'm at. And so we've been really like getting rid of things. I'm going to keep getting rid of things, and I just need to do it in layers. I would love to be a minimalist. Actually, I don't know about that. I think I like the idea of it. I like the look of it, but in practice, I do like being the person that has everything you could ever need. Like I do love, I'm such a like hostess kind of person. I love to entertain. I love to take care of people. And so I do love being the person you walk into my house and like literally anything you could ever need, I have it. Any beverage you could ever want, any tea you could ever want, any concoction you could ever need, any freaking supplement you could ever need. And a lot of people had comments about my supplement. My supplement cabinet, if you saw me post on Instagram as we were getting rid of old supplements, and that one was hard. I mean, I keep a lot of supplements. They all do different things. I'm such a supplement geek. And yeah, getting rid of that was tough, but it has to be done. And I definitely feel a lot energetically lighter. And even just being in the house, the whole house feels much energetically lighter. Even when you can't like see it, even just cleaning out cupboards that you weren't looking inside, it feels very different. And I have been getting this message to do this for so long, and now I'm finally doing it. So that is great. So that's the moving update. I think I probably threw that story answered all of those questions. So yeah, we have a lot of people were asking about my new relationship. So there weren't really any specific questions, but yes, the person that you were seeing on my stories is my new boyfriend. So yeah, that's it. I mean, maybe I can talk about it more later. I actually should talk to him about, I don't know how much he wants me to say, but I definitely manifested him, and he definitely manifested me. And yeah, let me know if you have more questions, but that was pretty much the main question. Was just, is this guy your boyfriend? Yeah, he is. So that's that. Let me know if you have more questions. Someone asked, did my previous partner and I have a closing ceremony once on board with completion of the contract? We did not. I thought about that, and I think I should have. I thought about it, and I did want to bring it up, and I know that he totally would have done that with me, but I just didn't feel. The way it played out, and I think especially because the way it played out when we close that relationship, you know, then we're in this, we lived in this house together, and it was kind of like one of us would travel and the other one would be here, and then when the other one would come back, the other person would leave. And I felt like having a closing ceremony like that would have been kind of nice if there was like more of a neutral space, and afterwards like we could both, you know, like go to our own respective spaces. I don't know the timing, and that's probably like a human thing, but I mean, I definitely had, that was on my mind. I'm going to tell you, it was on my mind. And there was another piece of my intuition that kept saying like, I don't know, I was like, yeah, I want to bring that up and suggest that. And I know that he would have done that with me, but it just didn't feel like I was supposed to, you know? But like, I mean, I had my own on my side. And for some reason it just wasn't feeling like, yeah, whether that was like the timing or the energy around it. So I didn't. But I think that's a great practice to do. And yeah, there was just something. And I do think a lot of it had to do just kind of with the timing and how it was playing out, and like the logistics of where we're at. You know, it's definitely difficult to go through something like that when you are like, I mean, we're really out in the middle of nowhere, you know, and we don't have like family or friends around us, and we don't really have places to like go get our own space. It's like, if we're going to go get our own space or go with a friend, which is like kind of what we both ended up doing like separately, that's a 3 to 5 hour drive depending on where we're going. So it's definitely difficult, you know, but there's a lot of growth in that of, you know, not being able to like run away when you can feel each other's energy, you know, and when you know that someone's going through a hard time, you know. So yeah, it's not easy for sure, but I would tell you, my book helped both of us. All right. So, I'm just reading. Okay, somebody asked, do my cats like each other now, or do they coexist? I said this on Instagram, but my cats don't like each other. They just coexist. It was a process to get Luna used to Loki, and now they just coexist. Loki is very cuddly. I mean, he's a big personality, and Luna's personality is just like, she doesn't like anyone except me. She does not like anyone except me. I'm the only one that will hold her. I can hold her. Like, I'm the only one she'll cuddle with. She's just very like snooty, and very protective over me. She's very territorial, and and Loki is a cuddler, and he'll try and cuddle with her, and she like just snarls at him and smacks him across the face. She does not like when he gets close to her. But Loki also is an instigator, and I'll watch, and Luna will just be sleeping, and Loki will just run up and like jump on top of her and like start like smacking her. Like, sometimes he's just trying to cuddle and she gets upset, but a lot of times he just comes out of nowhere and she's trying to sleep in peace, and he just wants to play, and he'll just bite her. Like, he just bites her. So they fight a lot. And I don't know, but then I watch them. It's like one of those things where, you know, have you ever seen people who are like being really mean to each other, and you're like, I can't tell if they're like hardcore flirting, if they hate each other. There's like somewhere in the middle. It's kind of like, I can't tell if she's really enjoying their little play fighting, or if she just really hates him. Like, and I think I tend to think she does not like him. And then I'm watching them play fight, and I'm like, Luna, you do like this, because I watch how she engages. So I mean, they're just funny. Loki has had a few incidents recently where he keeps falling into the bathtub, and I don't know why he's not learning, but he. Tough out there. So yeah, they pretty much just coexist, and that's enough for me. That's all I can ask for. You know, I got one cuddly cat and one cat who thinks that we're just all part of her queendom. So they're funny, but he's gonna get bigger than her, and we'll see what happens then. Speaking of my cats, Somebody asked how I holistically treat my cats. Vaccines are not food, etc. Oh, I shouldn't have said the V word. Whatever. So I'll just be totally honest with my cats. They have both gotten like the required jabs, which I think was one or two. It was only one or two, and then everything like not required, they have not. So that's how I've handled that. And I know with Luna, she got one and she was really shaky and it was like not good afterwards. So I didn't give her the rest of it. Like I didn't have her get the rest. Loki was fine with the one or two he got, I forget. But that's kind of just how I've done that. I think you guys all know how I feel about the jabs in general. And also there's life application, you know? So Loki had a lot of health issues when I got him, and that I wasn't aware of, and that kind of turned into a whole thing where I went back to the woman who I got him from, and I was like, you realize we found out that the issues he had were, that was part of just like the whole family, and whatever. I wouldn't recommend where I got them from. And it was like very stressful and, you know, expensive and hard. And I was really worried about him, and now he's healthy. But anyway, I didn't want that to affect Luna, obviously. So there's all that as well. Other than that, with like when he got sick and with things with Luna, I try and keep it as holistic as possible. Like we use like more homeopathics. We did have to give Loki like an antibiotic because his health issue was getting so bad, but we tried everything else kind of first. And so, I mean, that's just kind of how I manage my life. You know, it's like, I mean, I tried to do everything holistically with myself, but if I get an ear infection, I'm about to lose my hearing, like I'm going to get an antibiotic, or like if I, you know what I mean? Like we have that for a reason. So, but other than that, in general, like we keep it pretty holistic with them. Have little like, I don't know, tinctures and homeopathics. We give them for different things. And I like to keep their, you know, like their litter, like the more natural stuff. I don't like the fake like crystal stuff, things like that. With their food, I keep them primarily on just a carnivore diet. Sometimes, so Luna has been getting very tricky with her food recently, and I get it. I think she's just kind of bored, but in general, I really like just these like meat patties. I mean, cats are carnivores, and I will tell you, like, and this is a big thing that I think I know improved Loki's health. Of like when we got him, like they were just feeding them like the canned whatever food, and switching him back to just a carnivore diet, like the health of his coat, like his fur changed dramatically. A lot of his health issues started clearing up. So and with Luna, they're always so impressed like how healthy she is, how strong she is. Like she really hasn't had any issues. And they always say like, what are you doing with her? And the vet is always tells me like that they, you know, want me to change the food, and the food doesn't give them all the nutrients. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like it's literally the same thing as like humans with Western medicine, whatever. But people keep their pets on processed food diets their whole lives. And just like humans, like, I mean, we're not supposed to be living off processed food. So I really like the brand Small Batch. There's another one called Primal something. I don't know what it's called, but I tend to do the Small Batch, and like they have different flavors. So my kittens like the beef patty is the best. They have turkey, they have chicken. I don't know if they have rabbit or the other Primal brand has rabbit, but they like rabbit too. There's duck. And so they're just meat patties, and you just like feed them raw meat. So, I mean, not that different than how I used to eat. Remember when I was in my raw meat phase? So that's how we feed the cats. Luna's gotten picky and she's not eating that. So I've been trying other brands, but I don't have anything to recommend because other brands that I've tried that are more like whole foods based, she has not been willing to eat any of them. So, but we're primarily a Small Batch kitten fam over here. I think those are all the cat questions. Let's see. We're probably going to start going into other areas with this. Okay. Do you ever struggle with rejection around business, life, or love? Any tips for moving through it? When I think earlier in my career and in my life, yeah, for sure. Like, for sure. I think everybody deals with that. I mean, rejection, like with business, whether like, I don't know, I guess it could be like clients not wanting to work with me, or like me feeling like things aren't working out, or me getting no's when I, put myself out there for opportunities. With love, of course, think about, relationships when you're younger, like things not working out, whatever. I think I definitely, yeah, everybody does. Now, honestly, not really. Like, I think the rejection that hurts me is more when it's someone. The times I rejection is hard for me now is when it's somebody that I love and I trust and I have a deep relationship with, and they know me really well, and from there they reject me. Like, if somebody doesn't even know me, I really don't care. But I think what comes up for me with that question is the times when it hurts me the most is like friend breakups, for sure. If I have a friend breakup and it's just like this out of the blue, like random, it just feels like a rejection. It's like, wow, you know me so well and I've given you all of me. And I don't ask for anything back from you and I'm still getting rejected. Like, that shit hurts. Other than that, I think because I'm so confident in myself and who I am, and really like where me, like it changed for me as I'm reflecting on this. I think with business, it's just been like over time you learn that it's not personal. And even if it is personal, it doesn't really matter. The more people you deal with, the more you just realize everybody has all kinds of stuff going on. Everybody is coming from a different perspective, a different mental space, a different emotional space. Like, you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and it is what it is. And I'm not going to like try and make myself everybody's cup of tea, because that would be ridiculous. So I just really trust that the people that are for me find me. The people that like where it's not resonant, it's not resonant. That's okay. And like, I want them to go find someone who's resonant. I just don't take it personally. And I don't take on other people's stuff. I don't make other people's stuff mean things about me. I think a lot of this just comes back to, again, my own relationship with myself and my confidence in myself. And because I have such a strong relationship with myself and I love myself so much, like that is just unbreakable. It's just like unbreakable. So there's nothing that somebody could say to me that would change that relationship I have with myself. Like there's like nothing that can break that. Or make that falter, really. So if anything, like if there is a rejection that has a sound argument, I could just learn something from that. I can learn, hey, like maybe this is a place for my growth, right? And I think in love, I just really know, right, that the people that are for me are going to be all for me. Like, I'm never going to have to convince someone to like me and to want to be with me if they want to be with me. Like, and so if somebody doesn't want to be with me, then cool, then go do your thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to waste any time. But again, I think that just comes down to like my own confidence and like knowing what you have to offer and being confident in what you have to offer. And I think that this is something that's really lost in the conversation around manifesting, whether it's like love or friendship or clients or business. Something that, this might sound however it sounds, but I think this is lost in the conversation that I think is very core is, do you know what you have to offer? Like, let's talk about romantic partnership, and people are so busy trying to manifest their person, and they make their list, right? They make their list about who they want to be with and all the traits. But on the other side of it, you got to look at, am I someone's list? Am I all of the things on this list? Am I embodying this? Do I know my value and what I have to offer? And if there are things that you feel like, oh, like I need to step up here, I need to add value here, I'm not adding value in this way, then that's the personal growth, right? So like I am committed to being my best self and growing and learning, and that's a constant evolution, a constant process, and I do that for me, and so I feel good about myself, and that also contributes to me knowing what I bring to the table. Like, and I'm very confident in what I bring to the table in any type of relationship. Like I feel very firm in that. And when I feel very clear in that and confident in that, if somebody is feeling like I'm not bringing to the table what they want someone to bring to the table, then like, okay, then it's probably not the right table. You know what I'm saying? Like, then go find somebody who does. But that has started with, especially like earlier on in my life. And again, I'm consistently growing and adding to this. But I feel like rejections earlier on, there were things that like that was just poking at a wound for me where I felt like I'm not showing up enough here. I don't feel confident here. And it's just highlighting for me where I don't feel confident. And so when I'm really dedicated to being my best self and like I give 100%, and that doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I'm always going to just do my best and like keep committing to my growth and evolution and give my 100%. Like if that's not enough for somebody, then they're just on a line for me and I don't really worry about it, because for the right people, that's going to be more than enough and they're going to really appreciate that. And so that's the thing. It's like I'm looking like the people that are for me appreciate me for all of that. So I guess I just don't worry about it. If it's not aligned, it's not aligned, because I know that there are people it's aligned with. And maybe that feels like too simple of an answer, but that's just kind of how I see it. It just feels like a waste of my time to like sweat over like I don't worry about rejection. I don't know that I really see things as rejection. Like I don't process it that way. I firmly believe rejection is protection. Rejection is redirection. All those sayings. I firmly believe that. And so I just follow that. Great. Thank you for that redirection. All right. How do you keep your energy field clear so you don't take on other people's shit? Great. I teach a lot of these practices, in my different programs in psychic development and the membership, but, definitely daily time to myself. That is the most important thing for me. Daily time for myself to just kind of rest and recalibrate and get in my own field. I need that. I feel like not good and I'll get a leaky field if I don't have that. Energy work on myself. Like I clear out my bubble, I clear out my field, I pull it out, I just do it energetically. Meditation, journaling is really helpful to really pull out what thoughts are in my head, to move that energy out and to see what's mine and what's not. And I think at the end of the day, it's like a lot of self-reflection helps me recognize how much that's in my brain or in my field isn't mine. And then of course, just like the energy work, looking into my field and seeing what's there and setting up my protective boundaries. But the other piece of this is really, being firm in what I believe about myself and my relationship with myself, not calibrating to other people's beliefs or their field. And that doesn't mean I'm not open. I'm always open to learning and I'm curious. And I like to learn other perspectives because that can always teach me something new and maybe I'll change my own. But that's very different than like when I'm with someone energetically meshing and just, whatever you say, I'll go along with. I'm not that kind of person. I'll be curious and I'll be open and I'll listen, but I'm always going to make my own evaluation about it. And that kind of dynamic is part of what keeps your fields clear. And the other thing is just like knowing my boundaries with myself, but like knowing how much interaction I want to handle, what I'm available for and what I'm not, how things are feeling energetically, just like the way in which people might be sharing things. I'm very aware of that and aware of my emotional response to it. So I definitely used to be somebody when people would vent or share, I would like get in there with them and really like hold the energy and take the energy. And I have learned how to, when people are sharing or expressing, just to witness, right? And depending on the context, maybe it's like, I'm not witnessing, I'm just letting them do their thing, and I'm not getting energetically pulled into it. Or if it's somebody like I care about, or like a friend, I can witness and like hold that space, but I know it's not mine. And I think that a lot of times we feel like, oh, this is my problem to solve because someone's telling me it. And it's not. That's not holding space, that's fixing a problem. And it's one thing if that person has asked for your advice, and in which case I can share my advice. That doesn't mean I'm responsible for solving their problem. If you ask my opinion, then I can share it, but that doesn't mean that I have the solution. It's not my responsibility to have somebody else's solutions. And I think it's really important to know that. But also, just because somebody is venting or sharing, that doesn't mean that they're asking me to solve it. And so this is part of with communication. We can ask, hey, like, are you looking for my opinion and my advice, or are you just looking for a place to share? But in general, I default to, I just hold the space and I just witness. And unless somebody specifically asks me for advice, I don't usually give it, And I think that's the thing, is noticing how when people share, when they emote or whatever, like, what are we assuming? Are we thinking, oh, I'm responsible here for some reason just because somebody said this to me? You're not. Like, I can't control other people's behaviors, right? But I can control how I react to that and how I respond. And if my automatic response is I'm responsible, I mean, that's usually, and I was like that for a long time. That was just an inner child wound of like feeling like I was responsible for everybody else's emotions. And if somebody had something that they came to me, I had to solve the problem. And suddenly I was making myself responsible for everybody else's problems. And that's just completely ridiculous. So shifting that has been a big thing as well. And of course, just having boundaries with, like, I think any type of content or input. So how much I'm consuming, how many people I'm connecting with per day. I mean, I've had this conversation with a lot of friends recently where I'm just like, I don't have a capacity for more than like an hour of friendship dumping and hearing, like, a day. If that, there are lots of times where I'm like, I don't have space for this week. I just have to know my own kind of capacity depending on, what I'm going through, what's going on. And I also have with my job, this is something that you really have to learn when you have, like, when you're holding space. Like with my career, I am holding space for a lot of people consistently. And so I kind of have a different capacity by the time that, the day ends than somebody who doesn't. And I've had to have this conversation with different friends and partners, just kind of explaining that, of how that feels. So yeah, just kind of knowing my capacity. And at the end of the day, I'm just really firmly in the energy of, like, other people's shit is not mine to take on. People can do whatever they want. It's a choice if we decide to take it on or not. And that has been a big learning change for me. That was huge for my healing, like, especially when I was doing a lot of shadow work and inner child healing. And it's just a different orientation. So those are some things that I do. And the other thing I want to say is, I think having other healers and other support systems, like for me, a lot of the body work I do is really important to that. So there's so many functions that, like, massage, lymphatic drainage, like things like that are such an important part of my week. Just getting that body work done really clears things out of the field as well, because I like to work on it energetically myself, but then I do like to have somebody else moving out of my physical body. And just having that space for myself is huge. Okay. I'm reading these. I feel like everything personal you share is exactly me. Love hearing you process it out. Thank you. I'm glad that it's helpful. No questions. I wanted to tell you that I'm excited. I've missed your episodes. Thank you. I love that. We'll keep doing these. Your POV of what grew your business the most? Whew, that's a good question. What has grown my business the most has been being authentically me. Because at the end of the day, what has grown my business the most has been, like, magnetism. It has been what I've attracted into my field. And like my strategy has been magnetism. And if you look at my business, like logistically, I've made so many like wonky decisions and a lot of pivots and a lot of movement. And I just really follow like my intuition and what's authentic for me and over logic. And that has served me well because it's made me so magnetic. And so I think just being like authentically me and sharing myself, that's a big thing, is like really sharing who I am and making that very visible, even as that changes a lot. Like that has formed a lot of deep connections. Like those of you who listen to this podcast, like we have such a strong community. A lot of you have been with me for so long, or if you're new, it's like there's just this depth of connection because I'm just myself and I share myself and my journey. And I pivot when it feels resonant, and like because whatever's feeling resonant is what wants to move through me. And so that's going to be the most magnetic thing. And I think with that has come like my network, you know? And when I say network, it's just like all of the people. There's no business without people, right? And really like those go hand in hand for me, of as I have just really been authentically myself and like committed to that journey and that transformation, that has allowed me to meet a lot of incredible people. And those people have been core for business. I think, you know, one of the most important things for a business is your network always. Especially the more you grow a company, like your main job is networking, you know, and that's where you get all of your opportunities. And so it has been my network, but my network is only strong and has only grown and has been what it is because people, like I connect with people. I don't know if I want to say like easily, but like I just magnetize the right people right to me and we form deep connections quickly. And I definitely have this kind of like magnetic quality to me that draws people to me. And that has been very helpful with business. And that magnetic quality is because I'm just myself. And people have said this to me. Like they're like, I mean, especially even early on when I was, you know, super young, and people would always say like, I cannot believe how just like you are and how blunt you are. Like you're not scared. People would always say to me, like, you're just not afraid. And that is another way of like, I'm just myself and I share that and express that. And it's a very like attractive quality. It's very magnetic. And whether that's been like, colleagues I'm attracting or clients or customers or whatever, like that frequency brings people to you. And when you're in that frequency, it doesn't matter like what you're doing necessarily. It's just that you're bringing that and people want it. They want that sacral yes. So, if I were to, my POV of what grew my business the most, I mean, I could do a whole episode on that and all the different facets. But if I were just to answer that in one answer, one thing, like that's what I would just distill it down to 100%. And then I could get more logistic. I think the other piece has been consistency. And that's the piece that a lot of people overlook. Like I've pivoted and talked about different things, but I have been consistent. I show up every day. I mean, there have been a couple of times I'll take a break. I mean, there was that one time over the summer I took a month off. That was like a huge deal. That was like the only time in a decade. And I think it's easy to come in and see me now, like whatever. And a lot of people compare their day 1 or their day 30 to somebody else's, you know, year 10 or year 20. And I did that a lot too when like earlier on, but you have to remember that I have been showing up every single day on platforms, since I was 19. Like it's been 10 years. You know, I spent 6 years blogging every single day. I've been posting on Instagram pretty much, you know, maybe less so last year, not every single day, but for like, you know, 7-8 years, every single day. I'm consistent. I've been podcasting every week for a long time, twice a week, for close to a decade. Like it's consistency. And anything that you're consistent at, you're adding energetic momentum to, and the only thing that can happen is like for that to grow. So if I were to talk high level, those are the things I would say from my POV. That's a great question. Okay, we finished that one. Would it be a good idea to start a new IG to start fresh energy or not necessary? I think that this really depends on the person and what feels good for you energetically, honestly, because I think it, and I think, do you have a reason you want to keep like the old one, like more of as a personal? Are you actually going to utilize that? I know for me, I tend to be I'd rather start with like strong, fresh energy. And I think it also just depends how much you have built up and like what the feeling is. Like if it can feel like a natural transition, or if you're fine with, like with the rebrand, I did like 3 posts to kind of like block out my feed, and then it was a clear transition. I wanted that for sure. With different like brands I'm making, I like to start a fresh new Instagram. When I first started, I had a personal Instagram, and I wanted to make a new business Instagram because I just wanted fresh energy, and I didn't really want anyone from like my life. I just wanted like brand new, like people who love this version of me come in, So I think it just depends on the person, and how much content you have built up. And is it going to feel awkward or weird for you? Are you going to hold back at all? If you're staying on the same Instagram, then start a new one. But if you're like, I don't care, like this is great, I want all the same people to see, it's actually helpful, I don't just start something new, it's easier, then go ahead with the original one. I mean, I think it's always better if you can just to keep the same one, because you already have a base of people there who are probably already interested in what you have to offer. But if that's going to hold you back energetically, like I've had a number of clients who they're just not consistent with posting, or they're worried about what people are going to think. And I'm like, just start a new one. It's better to start with clean energy so that you don't hold yourself back. So I think it's just your relationship with it. Yeah. So let's see. Addressing immediate paralyzing nervous system responses to trauma triggers. I mean, what I would say with this is I would definitely work with a professional who does deep somatic work. And when I say deep somatic work, again, I would work with a professional on this. And there are layers to this. Like there's a lot of really cool somatic stuff that, you could do with programs. I would work with somebody specifically to help us get out of the body, because this can be very deeply stored, and like, can be a very physical and kind of like even sometimes like painful thing. That's just like what I'm getting, because I think in that it's good to be really held. It's good to be really held in that. And whether that's something like TRE and shaking, or I had somebody recently telling me that she's been doing this somatic work that's specifically like inner womb, which is interesting. I don't know that much about that, but like somebody's like helping her like get in there, and I just think having a professional who can help you figure out where that is in the body and help you physically release that is kind of what's coming up for me around that. And then of course the general nervous system work, but this is so somatic and like physical. And you can start with things like craniosacral, and then like you want to do like, physical somatic work. Again, if it's like TRE, or there's all different types of like programs, those really gentle movements, those hip openers, go through a program, start working on that low level. And then I would really work with a professional to get specific with this, is my recommendation. I'm sorry that's happening. I know that's like very intense. And I would really look at the, that body connection for sure to help rewire it and pull it out. Thoughts on body modification, plastic surgery, hormones, societal pressures. I mean, that's a big topic. I think that, look, I support people doing whatever they want to do with them. Like, I don't judge. It's like, I do whatever you want to do. That's how I feel about it. I think with everything, it's about the intention. And it's like, it's the intention, and it's also being very aware of just like making an informed decision. So if you look at something like breast implants, it's like, make an informed decision about it. And if somebody is fully informed, and like, yes, I understand that like there can be breast implant illness and like, I still want this because I want it for me. Then you do you. You do you. I think, it makes me sad when people make decisions about modification coming from a place of they don't think they're good enough. They don't think they're, beautiful enough. I think that there's also that fine line. I feel like so many people are going just overboard with the modifications. I think there's really obviously very real like health risks with that. I think this whole look at like filler and Botox. I just think people do not understand like what they're getting themselves into. And I'm not like against any of that and small, like I'm like against it, but it's like, why? And I am just very much like, keep it as natural as possible. I think that, there's stuff there if that makes you feel good and you want to do it, but also understand the potential health effects and make an informed decision. But I just think that people that shifts your frequency, that can have major impact on your health. And at the same time, you know what? If somebody adds a little bit of filler into their lip and it makes them feel better and it's hyaluronic acid, like, you do you. Like, your frequency is strong enough to override a lot of things, but really that comes down to the intention. And I just think that we're getting so far away from looking like normal people. Like, it's crazy. I remember moving out to Arizona and I'm so used to California because I lived there my whole life. And I'm so used to people who just look not real. Okay. They look weird. And that's the thing about all this work that people get done. It looks, I don't know that I want to say good. It looks fine. Or I might make them look younger on camera. But when you see these people in real life, they look horrible. They look so old. They look plasticky, look puffed. It's like so weird. But people are getting morphed into like not their authentic frequency. And I just think it's causing so much distortion in the field. I think all of that really affects the brain. I know it affects the vibration. I think we just have gotten really overboard and we have all these distortions. And I think that's I know that's a larger agenda to get people to want to change their appearance, and like changing your appearance, in big ways changes your vibration. It changes your connection with your own authenticity and your truth. And it's just like, I just think that we should embrace our aging and we should embrace wrinkles, and we should embrace skin texture and different body size. It's just like, there's so much beauty in that. And that's the problem. It's like, we've gotten away from the real frequency of beauty and what that really means. And, there's a lot of brainwashing, right? Of this is what's beautiful, when that's a very like distorted, like that's not, yeah. So it's a big conversation. I'm somebody that I'm just like, look, you do you, like, and, at the same time, like, you do you and don't think that everybody should do what you're doing, is how I feel about it. Me personally, I'm definitely very cautious of all that kind of stuff. But I don't know, it's like, it's a different situation to me. I don't know. Like, let's say somebody gets in a horrible accident, right? And they get in a horrible accident and like things happen, and it's really great that we have options like plastic surgery to help them like come back to themselves, and like, you know what I mean? There's a time and a place for everything, and I think it comes back to intention. So that's how I feel about that. No questions. I admire how much you honor yourself. Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. I'm just going to answer 2 more questions. Discernment of when your shadows are being triggered versus misalignment in a relationship. This is a really good question. And a really good relationship will trigger your shadows, but the energy around that trigger, you will feel, big picture, know that you are safe to move through that in that container. That's the first thing. Does it feel like you're being judged in that? Like is there judgment, shame, or guilt or anything like from that person related to that? Or is that like, whoa, I'm experiencing this because of what's coming up and this is a me thing? I think that's the thing to look at, because it should feel safe. And a good relationship will trigger your shadow so you can heal that, so you can see that. But it's about how that feels big picture. And then are you like, how do you move through that? Like, how do I articulate this? I haven't been in both different types of relationships. And when it's a misalignment piece, I feel judged. I feel shamed by that person. I feel like nothing I do is good enough. And I feel like it feels like they're poking. Like it's like they're poking to try and hit my shadow. And like there's usually kind of a power dynamic with it sometimes. And it's this consistent thing where it's not just a shadow's being highlighted for me to heal. It's more of I'm just dating, or I'm in a friendship with a different version of someone in my family, right? It's like this is a different version of the same thing that was an unhealthy dynamic. But I think within all of that, it's kind of like whatever part of your shadow is being triggered, do the work with that, heal that, shift that, integrate that. And then how does it feel? And then is it feel great, or is it like, okay, and this still is feeling out of alignment? So I think like do that work first and then you can see it. And I would say like, the healthy form of that is I've been in relationships where my shadow is being triggered and that calls me up, and that forces me to see what I need to heal. And then I'm able to do that healing work and I'm able to show up differently. And that person, it's a safe space. That person's not judging me. They're excited about that work that I'm doing. It's still like loving within it. So I think that's my best way to describe it. Last thing I will say is, do I have experience with plant medicine, i.e. mushrooms? How to best utilize them for ascension? I do have experience with mushrooms. That's the only plant medicine I've used. I love mushrooms. I think that the thing with plant medicines is I do think that you have to I don't love this word, but I'm going to use it. Like, I think you have to earn the right to use them. I think a lot of people use them as a crutch, and a lot of people use them as a way to not do their work like without them. And I think if that's the only way you can get your work done, like your personal work, then you got to look at that. And so they're a tool. They're a tool, not a crutch. And so I think there's definitely times when we're working through our stuff and we need to go deeper, or like we're feeling a particular block somewhere, and we're feeling that genuine calling, and that's a beautiful tool to utilize. And there are so many great healing applications with mushrooms. I'm a huge fan of that. Like, there's so many people that are, trained in that. I mean, I think that's a whole space that we should really open up. But I think that a lot of people just use them very casually as a way to, I'll say lazily open their psychic senses. And it's like, you can do that without it. And that's really what ascension is, to realize you don't need anything. And I think, nature gave us mushrooms, right? But they're not like all around all the time. It's more of a special thing. And like the real ascension is, again, there's something wrong. I think they're great. I love mushrooms, but I think if you're leaning too much into them, or that's the only way that you can open up or connect with your intuition, then we need to look at that. So I think of it like something that you're doing like as a tool with a specific intention, like in that sacred ceremony space, because you feel the genuine calling, not just like as the crutch to bypass other work. So it's an addition to the real work without it, not the only way of doing it, if that makes sense. So that's my general feeling around it. I think mushrooms are great, but the real upgrade is when you don't need them. They're a nice to have, not need to have. That's the goal. But of course, I understand there are times when that can be helpful to break us through certain limits, but I think that should be, done responsibly, is how I feel. So I got through most of these questions. There were a lot of really great ones sent in. Thank you for that. Let me know how this lands for you. It's like, if you're watching the video, it's night here, so the lights are really going down. But yeah, I always love these sit back and chat episodes. Miss these. Let me know if you want more of them. We can definitely make more. And I will let you know when the next one is, and you can send in your questions then. So I hope this was insightful. If you enjoy this, be sure to let me know. Take a screenshot, share it to social media, tag me and at Multidimensional Pod. Let us know what you want to see more of on the podcast, what you enjoy. We always take that feedback, and I'm excited for all of the new things to come, continue to grow into. I'm excited to get back to San Diego because I can be in the studio so much more, and we can make more content for the podcast. So I'm definitely pumped about that. So those are all the updates. Appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time. I am sending you so much love, and I will see you in the next episode.